So we're gonna get started here. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the public information meeting presentation for State Project 172-529, which includes the replacement and removal of various retaining walls in eastern Connecticut. Um, Again, it'll cover retaining walls being removed in the towns of Plainfield, Wyndham, and Portland. This is the live event tonight. Uh, Please join us for a question and answer session. It'll be a unique one tonight. We'll have a quick Q&A session after we cover each particular retaining wall, and it'll end and conclude with a Q&A session covering the last presented retaining wall and also all retaining walls if anyone has any further questions. So you can reach out and submit your questions through the project email, which is on the screen here, or if you're audio only, it is at DOT project 0172-0529 at ct.gov, through phone at 860-594-2020, and you can leave a voicemail, or you can visit the project webpage at portal.ct.gov/DOT project 0172-0529. Recording of this presentation will be posted on YouTube after the live event has completed. So first we'll talk about in terms of the general meeting overview, go through some housekeeping items. We'll introduce the project team and show you how you can interact with tonight's meeting through Zoom. We'll also have a formal presentation of the proposed design of the retaining wall projects in the order of first discussing the wall in Plainfield, then quick again Q&A after that, and then discussing the wall in Portland, another quick Q&A, then discussing the wall in Wyndham, followed by a Q&A that will encompass all of the walls if everyone has additional questions after. So we'll explain the existing conditions at each project site, define the purpose and need. We'll also then talk about the proposed retaining wall and roadway improvements. So first, we'll talk about the Title VI and your civil rights. No person shall, on the basis of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation or subject to discrimination in the development of this project. Title VI information can be found at the following link, which, if you're audio only, is portal.ct.gov/DOT/opportunity dash and dash business dash development /Title VI. There is a voluntary post-meeting survey, which you can participate in. If you have a smartphone or other device, you can scan the QR code found right here on the screen, or via the website portal.ct.gov/CTDOT survey. Again, a recording of this presentation will be posted to Connecticut DOT's YouTube channel after the event. Closed captioning, including non-English translation options, are available on Zoom and on YouTube once it's posted. Again, this shows the Title VI notice to the public. The Connecticut Department of Transportation, or CTDOT, operates its programs and services, again, without regard to race, color, and national origin, in accordance with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. Any person who believes she or he has been aggrieved by any unlawful discriminatory practice under Title VI may file a complaint with the Connecticut DOT. I will leave the slide up here for just a few more moments for the information listed here. Here we'll discuss how to view captions and subtitles in Zoom. If you're viewing the live Q&A right here, you can click the Show Captions icon, which should be towards the bottom of your screen with the CC box here. Then click the Speaking Language, and a menu should come up here, and you select the language that you like from the list that's shown. Again, closed captioning, including non-English translation options, are available on YouTube after the live event once the YouTube video has been posted. To use the Zoom Q&A tonight, you will select the Q&A tool at the bottom of the Zoom webinar window. Then this Q&A box here should pop up as shown here on the right. You could type your question into the text box towards the bottom and then click enter. That should submit the question. If you're an audio only participant, please dial *9 on your phone to raise and lower your hand if you have a question. Get to review the question answer session. This project being a unique one, we will have multiple Q&A sessions, which Francisco Fadul from the Connecticut DOT will be the moderator for. Again, you can submit questions by email at dotproject0172-0529 at ct.gov, by phone at 860-594-2020 and leaving a voicemail, through the live Q&A through Zoom, as we went over the directions just recently, and questions will be posted to the Zoom chat, or through the webpage at portal.ct.gov/DOT project 0172-0529. Just note that the Zoom Q&A is only available during this current live Q&A session, and that the comment period for all questions runs through June 10th of this year, 2026. So to introduce the project team from the Connecticut Department of Transportation side, we have Greg Funk, who is the Transportation Principal Engineer, Francisco Fadul, who's here tonight, who's the Transportation Supervising Engineer, Corey Burrows, who's the Project Engineer for this project, and Kathleen Erickson, also here tonight, who's the Project Right-of-Way Coordinator from the Division of Rights-of-Way. Regarding the project team on the design end, we have the designer is Jacobs, and Brian Chamberlain's with us tonight to present the technical portion of the project. He's the project manager of bridges. From Jacobs also is Don Costello. He's the New England Structures Group leader, and Tim Ryan, who's the highway lead. From the liaison side, we have Don Worst, who's the CLE program manager as the consultant liaison engineer from CHA Consulting, Rob Baylor, who's the project manager, and myself, Carl Stanek, who's presenting tonight, the upfront information and the project engineer for this project. At this time, I'd like to introduce Kathleen Erickson to discuss the relevant rights-of-way general information here. And Kathleen, I will pass it to you.
All right. Thank you, Carl. So again, my name is Kathleen Erickson, and I'm a project coordinator with the department's Division of Rights-of-Way. Our office is responsible for acquiring property rights that are needed for transportation projects all throughout the state. So I'll just be giving you a brief overview of what that acquisition process looks like. Before I get further into that, though, I do want to mention that the property impacts for this project are still being finalized, so they could change as the design progresses. Also, any property rights that are acquired are done so in accordance with Connecticut General Statutes, Sections 13A-73 and 13A-98E, as well as the Uniform Act. And next slide, please. So the right-of-way acquisition process begins once the project reaches a development milestone and all of the property impacts have been determined. At that point, each affected property owner will receive from our office a formal letter of intent to acquire, as well as a property map depicting the exact property rights to be acquired. You can see on the screen here just a sample of what the property maps look like. Next, our office will determine the fair market value of those property rights, which will be used to create an offer of just compensation. The property owner will receive the offer in writing, and a right-of-way agent will be available to meet with them to discuss the project, their specific property impacts, and the offer itself. The property owner will be given a reasonable amount of time to consider the state's offer and to enter into negotiations. And then once an agreement has been reached, the department will prepare all necessary documents in order to record the deed and the property map on the town land records. Now, if an agreement cannot be reached, in order to maintain the project schedule, the department may acquire necessary property rights through its power of eminent domain. If that were to happen, the state would file a notice of condemnation with the Superior Court, along with a monetary deposit in the amount of the state's offer. The property owner would then have 6 months to file an appeal if they felt the state's offer was inadequate. Now, whether or not the owner chooses to appeal, the money that's deposited in the court is available to be withdrawn by the property owner at any time. It is important to note too that the state will only ever be acquiring the property rights that are necessary in order to complete this project. But if there's any questions during any of the Q&A sessions tonight, I'm happy to answer them. But for now, I'm going to turn it over to Brian to continue on with the technical presentation.
Thank you, Kathleen. As we discussed, we will be talking about three walls tonight located in the east part of the state. The first being Wall 108-12001 in Plainfield, and then Wall 112-17-1 in Portland, and the last Wall 163-201, 203-001 in Wyndham. Spread out a little bit, but all in the District 2 maintenance district in each part of the state, which is why they were chosen for uh, to be included in this single project. Next slide, please. I'd like to start talking about the project's purpose and needs. Our purpose is to address deficiencies of retaining walls to accommodate safe travel for all people using the roads. We need to identify and repair, remove, or replace sections of deteriorated walls, maintain stability of the walls or the slopes, maintain functionality of all utilities, and most importantly, maintain safe travel on roadways, both during and after construction. And before we go too much further in the presentation, I just want to give a little background as to where we're here today. This actually is the second phase of a ongoing program. And phase one, the department initiated a statewide inventory of these existing walls. And we visited and created summary reports with a condition assessment at each site. The department reviewed these reports, and based on the condition reports, they selected a number of walls that they felt needed further attention. And that's where we are here tonight. This is phase two of the project, in which we've done a more in-depth assessment of the walls, and we'll be presenting our recommendation for addressing the current conditions. Next slide. Talk a little about the schedule and costs we expect. Design and advertise will be late summer, early fall of next year, 2027. We expect construction to begin spring of 2028, and be completed fall of 2028. So it's a single construction season project. The approximate cost estimate based on current design status is $4 million for the three walls being presented tonight. And that will be with 100% state funds. There is no cost to the towns. And we'd note that this cost and schedule are preliminary and subject to availability of state funds. And the cost and schedule may change as the project continues through the design phase. We are still very early in the design process. Next slide. So the first wall, as I mentioned, is in Plainfield. This is a retaining wall 108-012-001. And if we take a minute to kind of explain the wall numbering system, the RW obviously is retaining wall. What we've done, each wall is with a 3 number group designation. The 108 is the town number. 108 is the town number for Plainfield. 012, the second number group, is the route number of the road that the wall is located on. And this wall is located on the southbound side of Route 12. And the 1 is just the numbering of the walls. This is the first wall in the list of walls on Route 12, so 001. As I say, this is located on the southbound side of Route 12, right across the street from Franco's Pizza. It's close to Main Street and Evergreen Street, and as you see, adjacent to the Moosup River. Next slide. The wall is a dry masonry wall, and we don't know the year of construction. The year of construction is unknown. The wall is approximately 150 feet long, and the average height is about 8 feet. And as I had mentioned, it supports Route 12 along the Moosup River. The total wall length is about 150 feet, but the wall ends do flare away from the roadway at each end and tie down into the slope at both ends for the grading. The roadway itself, Route 12 or Norwich Road, is a two-lane roadway carrying northbound and southbound traffic. The road is classified as a minor urban arterial road. The average daily traffic, the ADT, based on 2022 counts, was approximately 6,200 vehicles per day at the VPD. And the posted speed here at the site is 30 miles per hour. You note that the posted speed does increase to 40 miles per hour south of the existing wall on the southbound side. Next slide. Talk about the existing conditions of the wall. First, start with the condition definitions. It's a very broad scale. It's a 3-point scale. We're going from 0 to good. And I just want to note a 0 or poor rating doesn't mean that the wall is going to fall down. It's a very broad scale and giving us a way of kind of assessing the walls overall. Looking at the condition notes, there were two areas noted with wall face bulging. It was about a 6-inch bulge, bulging outward about 30 to 40 feet from the ends of the wall. And based on the current department guidelines, a bulge in a masonry wall is an automatic 0 stability rating, which is what we've assigned here. So the stability rating is 0 just due to those wall bulges. But the backfill settlement rating is 2. There is no settlement noted of the roadway above. The wall is functioning as designed. So there's no current concern of roadway or sorry, wall failure. We give it a structural rating of 1. Obviously, it's a fairly old wall, so it's not new anymore. But structurally, it's in relatively fair condition. But there are some areas we felt would require being addressed based on the overall condition. Next slide. So our proposed rehabilitation method for this wall is to remove the wall and grade the slope, provide a graded slope to support the wall, the roadway. This meets the purpose of the project and addresses the deficiencies of the wall just by virtue of removing it. It is significantly less expensive than other alternatives that we'd studied. And as you see, it meets all project needs by it minimizes future maintenance because, of course, the wall being gone, there is no maintenance. And it minimizes impacts to regulated areas because we're not providing a new structure in a sensitive area. The impacts to these regulated areas are reduced or minimized. Next slide, please. So this is a section view showing our proposed alternative at this site. You'll note to the left of the roadway center line, the northbound side, there is no work being proposed at all. All of our work is proposed on the southbound travel lane. And looking from left to right of the roadway center line, when we complete the project, we will mill and overlay the existing roadway to restore the roadway surface to a state of good repair and leaving a 12-foot southbound travel lane. Moving to the right, we're proposing a 5-foot paved shoulder with a new metal beam rail. There'll be full depth roadway reconstruction at that point for the paved shoulder. Behind the metal beam rail, we're providing an 8.5-foot shelf, or a slope shelf. That's space for a future sidewalk, should there ever be a desire of the town of Plainfield to provide one. If a sidewalk is ever proposed on the side of the road, there is now sufficient space for that to be constructed. And then sloping down from there, a 2-to-1 slope tying down into existing ground, and that will be vegetated in some way, whether it be turf establishment or some other vegetation to restore the site. Now you see there are existing underground utilities passing through here. Those utilities will not be impacted by construction. The contractor will not disturb these utilities during the road reconstruction. Next slide, please. This is a plan view of the proposed site. Now the green represents the slope grading. You can see how we're grading down from the roadway and tying into the ground, the existing ground along the way. And the yellow is the limits of roadway reconstruction. The red line along through there is the current state right-of-way, and we'll discuss in a moment. There are some right-of-way impacts expected with a needed easement to grade, and what that means is we'll need to get permission to grade down outside of the state right-of-way. But again, looking at oops, sorry. providing a 12-foot travel lane and a 5-foot shoulder, then grading down. I'll go ahead, Carl. Thanks. Here we see the proposed traffic maintenance through construction. What we would plan to do is by placing a line of barriers, we'll shift traffic to the east, maintain 2 lanes of traffic through the construction zone. The roadway is wide enough through here that we've got the room to push traffic over and utilize the existing roadway and maintain 2 lanes of traffic throughout construction. We will maintain pedestrian access through the construction site. And you'll see we'll maintain access to as I mentioned before, there are the businesses across the street from the construction zone. We will maintain access to the roadway, sorry, to the businesses through all stages of construction. Next slide, please. Now the project impacts, expected impacts. As I discussed, there are expected environmental impacts. We're located in a FEMA flood zone, and so there's permitting requirements because of that. But because of the project type we've selected, those impacts are minimized. Right-of-way impacts, as I discussed, there is a permanent easement to grade because we're grading outside the state right-of-way. And we'll need a temporary construction easement for construction access on the downgrading side of the slope. Utility impacts, there's two utility poles that we'll need to relocate as part of the removal of the existing wall and the slope. But there are no anticipated impacts to those underground utility lines. And for drainage, there will be drainage impacts because we're installing the curb along the southbound shoulder, so the drainage patterns along the road will change. And we're increasing impervious area because with the widening of the shoulder, the drainage impacts will be addressed as part of the design when we're designing the wall. But no significant drainage impacts expected. Next slide, please. And here we'll pause briefly for a Q&A session. Francisco will moderate.
Good evening, everyone. Francisco Fadul here. I'm the project manager at the DOT CLE Bridge side. I'll be moderating the Q&A session. This is obviously the first Q&A of 3. This is going to cover the wall that was just presented in Plainfield. Please go ahead and send in questions as you think of them. And your options are displayed currently by email as shown here, or by telephone at 860-594-2020 and leaving a voicemail, or through Zoom Q&A. And your Q&A option is just by selecting the Q&A button down below and then typing in questions. I see that there's a question pending already. Keep them coming. Question is, do you have a site chosen for material and equipment storage? Brian, you mind jumping in for this one?
Thanks, Francisco. At this point, we do not. We're still very early in the process, and those details will be addressed later on. Once we actually begin the formal design process, we'll work with the town of Plainfield to for the site selection if there is a need for stockpile area and the construction staging areas.
Thank you, Brian. Just a recap, this is a Q&A session for the wall that was just presented, Plainfield wall number RW-108-012-001. And you can participate here through Zoom Q&A by selecting the Q&A option down below in your Zoom screen, or there's a voicemail option, 860-594-2020. or by email as shown here. This particular Q&A is going to last a couple more minutes or quicker if there's no questions coming in, and we can then proceed with the next wall. For a reminder, if your questions don't get captured now, you can still wait until the third Q&A session presented today here, and we'll capture questions that we missed if folks join in or if folks couldn't find the Q&A button in time. Looks like we're all set to move on to the next wall presentation. And Brian, take it away, please.
Thanks, Francisco. Our second wall tonight is in Portland. This retaining wall RW 112-017-001. So actually 112 being Portland's town number, and this is along Route 17. Now this wall is along the northbound side of Route 17 in Portland, south of Blackberry Ridge Road, and north of the entrance to Wilcox Hill Road. It is along Route 17, the Glastonbury Turnpike. Next slide. Now, this wall is a concrete crib wall. It's approximately 500 feet long. And average height is around 5 feet. As before, the year of construction is unknown. As you see, it supports a forested sloped embankment, and it's set back about 3 feet from the roadway edge. Now, Route 17, the Glastonbury Turnpike, it's classified as an urban principal arterial. It's a 2-lane road carrying northbound and southbound traffic, as you see. The ADT here, based on the 2021 counts, was about 6,400 vehicles per day. And the posted speed at this site is 35 miles per hour. Next slide. The wall condition, the concrete crib, there's several spalled sections with exposed rebar at the lower and midsection of the wall, and you can see some of that condition noted in the photo here. Some of the concrete lags, and the lag is there's those concrete stick sections. Some of those lag sections are rotated and displaced on the upper section of the wall. And there was a 50-foot section of wall with a partially collapsed section of crib at the south end of the wall. Now, we noted settlement and material washout at areas behind the wall, but no settlement or distress at the front of the wall. So the wall is not in danger of failing. This is not an immediate danger. However, the wall is close to the road and close to the edge of the travel lane, and a failed section of the wall could impact the roadway travel lane. So our condition rating here, stability, we rated as a 1. There is no immediate instability concerns. But because of the settlement and the backfill condition we noted, we rated that as a 0. And structurally, again, because of the condition of the wall members, is rated as 0. But again, the wall is not in danger of imminent failure, and this is just a way of kind of classifying these important elements of the wall for our road evaluation. Next slide. Now, proposed rehabilitation scheme at this wall is to replace the wall with a prefabricated modular wall system. And just to quickly run through the expected construction sequence, we'd first install a temporary earth retaining system, we call it TERS, to support the slope during construction. We'd remove the existing wall and excavate for our proposed wall. There will be a need to relocate some of the utility poles. You might have seen those in the pictures behind the existing wall. We'd install the proposed wall system, install under drain and backfill behind the new wall. There'd be a swale at the toe of the slope, a drainage swale with the toe of the slope. Roadway drainage along the northbound side of the road in front of the wall, proposed new drainage system. And full depth roadway reconstruction of the northbound wall roadway for a reconstruction of the shoulder and expansion to 5 feet. Next slide. And here we see a section showing the proposed wall. Similar to the last wall, on the left side of the roadway center line, the southbound side of the road, there is no proposed construction. Moving to the right from the roadway center line, again, similar to the other one, we will propose to resurface the northbound travel lane at the end of construction to restore to good conditions with a new pavement surface. As I'd mentioned, full depth roadway reconstruction of the shoulder, leaving a 5-foot shoulder. Behind that is a 7-foot 9-inch slope shelf up against the roadway face. And this roadway the shoulder reconstruction and the slope face, that's the current location of the existing wall that's being removed. So you see we're pushing the wall face back several feet from the existing roadway edge, making room for the that slope face. Now the orange block, that represents the modular wall system. The department has several uh, accepted types of prefabricated modular wall systems that the contractor can select. This represents one, but there's different options that might be chosen, all of them serving the same function. The brown with the proposed backfill, we see we're sloping at a 2-to-1 slope and tying it to the existing ground back behind the TERS that we see supporting the existing ground there. That little curved area is the drainage swale behind the top of the wall surface there. That will catch the slope drainage and convey that to the existing drainage system. There is an under drain behind the wall to capture any backfill drainage. Next slide, please. Now, this is a plan view showing the construction zone. The brown area is the slope behind the wall tying into the existing grade. As you see, for most of the wall length, we're not having to go very far up the existing hill to tie back and to catch the existing grade. Only one area at the north end of the wall on the right side of the page is there a slight need for a slight grading easement to grade where we're tying in quite a ways up the existing slope. The yellow again representing the roadway reconstruction limits. Next slide, please. This is an elevation view of the proposed wall. Now, given the length of the wall and the shortness of the page, we exaggerated the scale a little bit vertically and horizontally, so it looks a little squat. But what we're trying to show here is that the wall height will change as we traverse along the roadway slope. Midspan of the wall will be the highest point of the wall. And as we get to each end of the wall will get shorter, will get lower to tie into existing grade. But this is a view of the face of the wall, kind of what you would see as you're driving along the roadway. Next slide, please. This is a view of the construction zone, the hatch area being the construction area. The section view below, as you see, we're proposing alternating one-way traffic through the construction zone. We'll move traffic to the west side of the road to a single lane of traffic to pass through the construction zone. This will be signalized alternating one way. There'll be a traffic signal at each end of the traffic pattern. And again, because of the length of the traffic pattern and the shortness of the page, we're not showing the whole traffic pattern here on the page. The signals would be a distance off to the left and right, but a traffic signal set up to control traffic flow through the construction zone, and then moving traffic away from the construction zone to give the contractor room to work. And again, removing the existing wall there and installing proposed retaining wall and grading. Next slide, please. Our project impacts, there are some environmental impacts just by virtue of the fact that we're having to remove the trees, including grubbing along the slope. We will replace the slope to be a vegetation, some sort of vegetation planted to restore the slope when we're finished. Rights of way, as I noted, there will be a small easement to grade in one area of the wall. Utility impacts, we noted 5 utility poles relocated up the slope a little further. And drainage impacts, we're installing new catch basins along the northbound shoulder of the roadway. And as I noted, there's an under drain installed behind the wall, and then a drainage swell at the top of the wall, directing surface water to the proposed drainage system, the slope drainage going down. Next slide. And here we'll pause again for a Q&A for any questions you might have. Francisco.
Thanks, Brian. Yes, this Q&A portion is a 5 minute or so time block that's been set up for the Portland wall, retaining wall 112, 017, 001. If you do have questions, looks like there was a pending question from the previous presentation that wasn't captured and came in as we transitioned to this one. So I'll just allow this team to address that particular question. And question was, how long is the time frame to complete the process? Um, Brian?
Thanks, Francisco. If by time frame you mean the construction of the wall, we don't have an exact schedule yet for each individual wall, but the project will be advertised as a single construction project starting sometime in April of 2027 and ending later in the fall. So as I noted, it's a single construction season. The exact time for the construction of the wall is not known yet at this time. We're still very, very early in the design process, but one construction season total.
Thank you, Brian. And just a reminder, that answer is relative to the first wall that we presented here. That wasn't the Portland wall, that was the Plainfield wall. It's the first presentation. But now transitioning on to this particular wall that we just covered, the one in Portland. If you have questions, there are options here to comment or to post questions by email as shown here. Telephone to leave a voicemail, that would be 860-594-2020. And by Zoom Q&A, by just clicking the Zoom Q&A button in your Zoom screen down below. And also just a quick reminder, if there's a comment period, that will stay open after this meeting. And that's going to run until June 10th, 2026. There are no questions pending yet. And as a reminder, after this couple of minutes go by for this particular Q&A, and we're going to be moving on to a third retaining wall that will be presented. And then after that, then there will be a catch-all Q&A session where we will answer questions about all three walls presented here tonight. We'll give about 30 seconds more here for this Q&A. And I'll pause now. There is a pending question. Question is, will they remove all trees to top of slope and then reestablishing erosion control? And do they perceive needing access to property to north end of wall?
I guess two parts to that question. The tree removal, we will not remove. We won't strip the entire slope. The tree removal will only be as required for construction. And as you saw in the slide, the TERS was placed not far behind the existing wall. So we'll, of course, clear as much as we need to do the construction, but we don't anticipate clearing the entire slope. As far as access to property at the north end, I don't anticipate access through property. I believe all of our work can be done from below. I will say this again, we are still very early in construction, in design, and we haven't completely worked out all the construction details, but our anticipated construction sequence was from below, working from below by placing the TERS and then constructing in front of that, excavating in front of that.
Thank you, Brian. Just wanted to add, just like Brian mentioned, if things do change in design, uh, the state's going to be in close coordination with impacted property owners. Just a couple more seconds here on this particular Q&A. I'd like to capture all questions here now before moving on to the next wall. Seeing none, I believe it's time to move on from this particular Q&A. Once again, if you didn't get a chance to pose questions or for folks that are coming in later, there will be a catch-all Q&A session after the next retaining wall presentation that will be starting now. Brian, take it away, please.
Thank you, Francisco. Our final wall tonight is in Wyndham. It's retaining wall RW 163-203-001. This wall is on the northbound edge of Route 203. As you see, it's near Jerusalem Road, south of Mullen Hill Road. Next slide, please. This wall is also a concrete crib wall, approximately 150 feet long, an average height of 5 feet. Again, unknown year of construction. It runs parallel to Route 203, supporting, as you see, the northbound side of the road, just the other side of that metal beam rail in this photo. It's, as I say, running parallel to the road and approximately 3 feet from the northbound edge of the pavement. Now, Route 203, Wyndham Center Road, is classified as an urban major collector. The ADT here is 3,700 vehicles per day based on 2022 counts, and the posted speed is 35 miles per hour. As you mentioned, the Route 203 is received as carrying northbound and southbound traffic, 2 lanes of traffic. Next slide, please. Our condition notes here, the backfill is in poor condition, and we can see, looking at the top photo, the backfill washing through the concrete crib. There's a loss of backfill and erosion through sections of the wall. Several of the precast concrete crib sections have deteriorated, and there are some failed locations with exposed rebar. And the metal beam rail, the guide rail posts along the wall are leaning and displaced in several locations. So our condition rating, again, as with the last one, stability rating of 1, the wall is stable and there is no concern of imminent wall failure. But again, as we discussed with the backfill settlement, it was 0 condition rating, given the condition of the backfill coming through the crib. And structurally, obviously, is 0 given the condition of the structural elements of the wall. Next slide. Our proposed alternative here is to remove the wall and place a graded slope behind adjacent to the roadway. We'd remove the existing wall and install a riprap covered embankment slope with a 1.5 horizontal to 1 vertical slope face. We will widen the northbound shoulder to 5 feet. There'll be a new guide rail installed. There's a need for a new catch basin at the south end of the project. And as with the others, we'll mill and overlay the northbound lane and place new pavement when we complete. Next slide. And here is a section showing our proposed construction. As always, no proposed work on the southbound side. The northbound lane, as I just mentioned, we would mill and overlay, so we'd replace and restore the existing roadway to a good condition. Full depth pavement reconstruction of the shoulder. So we provide a 5-foot paved shoulder at the completion of the project with a new metal beam rail. And then moving along, a 4-foot shelf behind the rail, and then grading down 1.5 to 1 of the riprap slope tying into the existing ground below. The brown being the proposed fill replace to create that slope embankment. Next slide, please. Here is the project limits, the green being the slope replacing, and then the yellow being the roadway reconstruction. The red line you see is the state right-of-way. So as with the other projects, we will need a substantial easement to grade. One interesting thing to point out, you'll see a small triangle onto the roadway there. The road is actually outside the state right-of-way for a portion, and so we'll discuss in a minute there a need for a bit of a right-of-way impact there. Next slide, please. Here we show the construction zone, the hatch being the construction area. As with the last site, we're proposing alternating one-way traffic through the construction zone here. We'll place a line of barrier and shift traffic to the west to a single lane of traffic. We'll set up a traffic signal at either end of the construction zone to maintain traffic through the job site, a single lane of traffic, signalized traffic. And then with the construction being performed throughout there. Next slide, please. Our environmental impacts, primarily tree removal and clearing required along the slope. Right-of-way impacts, again, a temporary construction easement needed for the work we'll be doing. A permanent slope easement with the grading we're doing. A permanent drainage right-of-way with the new drainage being installed. And here, a permanent take, as I noted, there's a portion of the existing road that's actually outside the state right-of-way. A temporary relocation is needed of some of the overhead utilities, so a small temporary utility impact. And again, with the installation of a new catch basin, a drainage impact expected. Next slide. And here, our final Q&A session of the evening, Francisco.
Thank you, Brian. Yes, this is the last Q&A session here, and we're hoping to capture all questions, starting with this past retaining wall that Brian presented just now, and that was the Wyndham retaining wall number 163-203-001. We have questions. They can be captured by email as shown. Telephone to leave a voicemail at 860-594-2020 or through Zoom Q&A by clicking the Q&A button in your Zoom screen down below. There's a question pending. So I'll pause here for a second and read that off. I want to thank you for presenting this with our towns as it makes information to the public very early in the process. Thank you very much for the comment. Just to add to that, as we wait for further questions here, yes, the state does have a public outreach program that we do follow strictly, and we do present to the municipalities and to the public to gather comments in helping us develop design for these projects. Appreciate your comment. Question pending. How can you acquire the drawings presented here? Just to answer that, we do have a live session being published to YouTube of this presentation here. So if you do search for that um, for this project number, it should pop right up. And we also provide these videos, or we provide info on the project website shown here. But if you need further materials, please contact us, and you can email this project email here to ask questions and to follow up. Give it about 30 seconds more to a minute to capture final questions. This is your chance to really comment on this project or pose questions. There's been 3 walls presented here. This session is now open to all questions on all walls. Please do reference the wall that you're mentioning in your question in front.
Even if just by name of town, if you can't remember the wall number, whether it be Portland, Plainfield, or Wyndham.
Yep. Thanks, Brian. Appreciate that. All right. Looks like there's no further questions. Thank you all. It's been a pleasure to present this to you. Once again, the project website can provide information on this, and you can always contact us. There is a comment period running through June 10, and you can post comments through this email posted on the slide, or you can leave us voicemails. Thank you very much, everybody, for your time. Good night.